I thought there was something bizarre about the fact that YouTube doesn't register dislikes now. Um, Evidently, what it does is it tells the creator of the dislike, and I guess the idea there is so that people will mute this, so that people. Turn off the volume on this. I've got a little cam I can sit here and watch my stepfather. Watch after my stepfather. My mom's already home, so my stepfather's okay. Sorry, I got something on my lip there. But I also don't have a shirt on, but you can't tell that so much. um, Anyhow, I thought it was really strange how I was not showing any dislikes, and I couldn't find it on any of the other videos. And I think this is just a general thing that YouTube has done, is they removed the dislike counter so that you can't see how many people disliked it. You can just see the likes, and that's probably a good thing. That's because dislikes only going to be something important to the creator. It's not necessarily shouldn't necessarily be like a voting thing for everybody. Um, if you got lots of likes, then you got lots of likes. Dislikes are just, I guess, don't get registered. The comments, I can tell from the comments when somebody doesn't like something, but um, I don't know where to go for the dislikes. But I was just like, well, everybody likes my videos and nobody dislikes them. That's really strange, because usually if there is an equal number of likes to dislikes, it's called controversial. And I guess the thing is that only YouTube looks at those numbers or something, and I don't know. The other thing is I'm playing Oshur on PlanetSide 2 for the PS4 console. It's available. It doesn't have construction, but that's not a big deal. However, I noticed why I didn't like the map. Um, I don't like the map. I think it's very difficult to play. It's really meant for air vehicles. It's really kind of stupid. The tanks go to the bottom of the ocean, and only one faction's tanks rise above the water, and that's the VS. So TRs and NC's tanks drop to the bottom. It's all about physics, I guess. But all the other vehicles that have rubber wheels are assumed to float on the water. And if your vehicles go below the water, then they can't shoot their guns. But the air vehicles can come around and shoot at you through the water onto your vehicle. The VS's mag riders can shoot down into the water. It doesn't seem like it really depends. I haven't really been able to figure out what can shoot into the water and what can't. And there are a lot of vehicles, the air vehicles can go right into the water, and they can't shoot while they're in the water. Nothing can shoot while it's in the water, underwater. Um, but you can have knife fights, and if you have the special guns, you can use them too, the underwater guns. But I don't see, even with the amount of pop that the consoles got, anybody doing anything of the nature of an underwater war. Um, I think the only reason for them having the water was so that they wouldn't have to create as much geometry for the land. If they were to do a full out map like Hazen or any of those other continents, they would have to shell out a lot of money to get people to create it. What they did is they only created some islands in the water, and they smoothed it out between the islands. And the islands are really small. They don't. Some of them are a bit big, but most of them are really small. And when the tanks are out there, they're cluttered. You know, they can hardly manage all the space. Um, and I believe they just never put enough elbow grease into making the continent. They were shooting for um, a high return on investment. So they weren't going to create a big continent like the others. They were going to that was asymmetrical. If you notice the others, they're pretty much asymmetrical. This one is symmetrical. And the reason for that is that they only had to create one part to it. And if you look at the map, then you'll realize that it looks like a Celtic knot or something. And it's just that they only had to create one part and then copy it to the other parts. And it's the symmetrical nature of it makes it fair, but it also makes it kind of unoriginal. And then there's just this vast, airy space with no mountains, where the air vehicles can be seen forever. I mean, you can see tons of stuff on the other end of the map. Um, it's got that flat Earth effect, you know. But that the buildings that are far off that shouldn't be visible are visible anyhow. Um, and I just kind of got this feeling, you know, this is not going to live up to the others. This is not going to be that interesting a map. It's not going to be one of those maps where there's going to be lots of detail and you I mean, people are going to figure out how to master it, and then they're going to figure out how to exploit it. And I've already figured out some ways to exploit it, like the tridents that are the high trident uh, bases that hook to three of the other. Um, Basically, they're these bases that have this like Seattle, um, the Seattle um, needle type arrangement where there's this disc in the air, and the flags are inside of um, little meeting areas inside, but on the outside of this disc. And you spawn in the center of the disc and you move outwards. Problem with this is that if you're being taken over, you're having to fight in 360 degrees against the enemy because they could come in on all sides. And it isn't like a biolab um, where it's out in the open and you can see everybody coming into it. It's you can only you can get you can get bombarded in, and then they can just sit there and camp your spawn. There's no alternative spawn locations, so there's no way of getting behind the enemy, and unless you come from another base. It's even worse than having a spawn room on the side of the base because you can't shoot out at the people in the way they have the shield entrances oriented. There's no way to really shoot out and keep the enemy from getting close to your spawn. And So there's all sorts of stupid shit with this map. And one thing I figured out is I could drop an anvil lightning on one of the air pads and sit there and shoot at air vehicles coming in. So that makes it really tough for them to come into the Trident. The other thing I could do is throw out tank mines on the air pad, so if they were to land there, their thing would blow up. That means that they're probably going to try to land on the top of the disc. But if you've got a large enough force that's going to go out and throw tank mines up there, then it makes it hard for them to land there as well. There's all sorts of things you could do to prevent them from getting there, but once they got on there, it's practically impossible to protect it, and it's incredibly stupid that they didn't put guns on the top. They didn't make it so that you could get the out of the spawn up to the top of the building. They don't give you any way of getting out from the bottom of the building. Say if you had light assaults that could come up and reach the air pad, and like you can do on a biolab. There's so much stupid shit in this map that makes it just incredibly fucking stupid. And they think that this is a step up from the other maps, and it's fucking not a step up. It's a total waste. And what it's going to do is it's going to ruin the whole. It's going to make it even worse. It's going to make it so that that on the console there will be um, less people when Oshur's up. There just won't be enough people to really play the map. It'll be so big and so sparse interactions between forces that it just I feel it would be that way. But the way it is now, it's kind of interesting because now the other maps people are spending less time on them, and so because they're trying to figure out this new map and figure out how to make it work, and the other ones are getting neglected, and so usually there's only about 3 to 6 or 7 people, or even less, or even just maybe a bit more, um, playing those maps. And so you can gain hold if you're trying to get resources for orbitals or for citadel shields or things like that, or for bastions. It's super easy to do because the other continents are not being looked after. They're not being fought as much. And Oshur is getting it is just practically impossible to play because if you've got anti-air guns, you can't like really shoot and keep air vehicles away. They can run away and run under the water, and then they've pretty much gotten away from you. Um, and there could be tanks kind of like underneath the water, just sitting around waiting for somebody to come and take, say a one of the special um, boat like bases. They could come out and then they can like shoot at you from underneath. It it just it just seems to me like they didn't really think about it long enough, and they were just responding to people's needs, thinking that this is going to be a solution. And I can just see it's probably going to make it even worse. It's probably the only areas that people will want to be after a while is, and they won't want to be on Oshur because it doesn't have an original look. It doesn't have special. It doesn't have a whole lot of it doesn't have a whole just originality. There just is not much. I mean, it's original in that it's different, but it's not original in that the bases are unique and different, and the geometry, the landscape is not unique and different. It's basically just a large symmetrical map, and they won't have any complaints from people, feeling like it isn't well balanced because it's symmetrical, but it's not going to have the character of the other maps that each one has unique bases that take years to learn. And I like that it takes a long time to learn those maps, because there's always something to learn and it always drives you back. That isn't in this map. This map doesn't have that. And I really wonder how in the world they're going to be able to top the existing maps. Some people said this could be called PlanetSide 3. No, I call it PlanetSide 2.1 beta, or 2.2 beta, because it still crashes. It's still blue screens. Um, it's like they just don't have enough people or engineers to throw at um, this this game, and there are a lot of people that love the game. It's an interesting genre. It's a genre to itself. That is, it's a multiplayer first person shooter real time strategy game, um, which is not really common to have those three combined. Something that's like Battlefield but very large, um, and with many bases, not just two, and and having tons and tons of flags or letters. They call them letters, but I call them flags all over. It's capture the flag, and the lattice lines determine which flags you can take. You can only take the ones that are connected to the bases that have been taken. Um, and that works nicely. There was a time before the last lines, they didn't have last lines, and you just took bases that were connected to landlocked, connected to what you were taking, and it was just about taking the most areas of the map. Um, the missions, I found out, don't work on Oshur. Certain missions don't work on Oshur. They only work on the existing maps. And so I'm doing this one called Siren's Call or something, and it said to go to any combat area, and so I went to Oshur, and it didn't satisfy the mission. So I had to go to, what was it, Indar. I went to Indar, and it satisfied it. And it was just like, well, that's going to confuse some people. Anyhow, I think it's a loss. I don't see it like really bringing back people like a lot of people wanted it to. I think people are going to come back to it and say, "Oh, there's another map," and then they're going to go, "Oh, it really sucks," and then they're going to go back to whatever, any of the other maps. They also need to probably sell off the rather than developing for the PC and for the PS4, they need to split the company, or create a subsidiary company that's separate just for the PS4 and one that's just for the PC, or have a team only devoted for creating content for the PS4 version. And the idea being that if there is an attraction for the game, even on the PC platform, why not create unique maps for each? Have some similar, but have some that are unique to the platform. So to have on PS4 maps that are have a map that is unique to the PS4 that the PCs don't have, that the PS4s have, and then same for the PC. And the idea behind that is that you're going to have people who are playing on both platforms, just so that they can see the other maps, you know, and play the other, have the different, because when you have it, it's when it's similar on both platforms, it's people are going to be comparing them, and they're going to say, well, we don't have this and we don't have that. But if they're unique, if they have unique maps on either, and I'd say on the PS4 to focus on smaller maps, because there just isn't the population like the PC side to really fill it like the PC. PC has multiple servers, to give you an idea, and the PS4 only has like one server. It could have multiple servers if there was enough if there was enough interest in the game, but people get into the game and the thing they complain about is being killed all the time. And that's just a matter of figuring out how to kill people, and I mean how to kill it, how to keep from getting completely obliterated, because there's so many things. It's you spend time learning, and then you eventually figure out a strategy or a technique to playing it. Like whenever your base is being taken over, it just seems like the other team, although there's a smaller number of them, they have completely kept you into your spawn room. A solution to that is to throw out EMPs and then put up recon, and that doesn't happen. That's the reason why the bases get easily taken. Is that the people that are fighting the game don't really understand what options they have available to them. And when I come into the game, I usually can keep a base from getting capped, because I know these little techniques. I've even taken whole bases by myself. People attribute to me having not a whole lot of power, but my outfit label keeps getting put on some fairly large bases, and they don't know how I can be this old guy that lone wolves is not part of another outfit that talks a lot on faction chat, and part of that is just to communicate things to people. And the people that are more professional or whatever, they look at faction chat and they see me talking and they tell me to shut up and stuff like that. And I say, well, you have the capacity to use the ignore command, /ignore add name, and but you don't want to use it because somehow you're trying to win some sort of fight with me to shut me up, and I'm not going to do it. And you got the ignore command, and that's how you fix that problem. But they don't want to do it because it's the same sort of problem we got with people who will not wear masks in America, is that they feel that they've got the liberty to, they shouldn't have to make the change. They should stop, it should be somebody else's problem, And, you got easy options to you, and you don't take them because you have a distorted view of what liberty is. And it's really kind of sad. That was part of the reason why I came up, because I was watching some news program and they were talking about these mothers for liberty that were pushing back at the government for enforcing the use of masks in school. And what the government could say is to say either you can come to school with a mask or you can stay home and use Zoom to connect to the school or something like that of that nature, or find some other method that works well for the children. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep this virus from spreading and killing people. And the parents don't think it's enough of a threat, and they don't. They think it's harping on their liberties, and if their kid gives a virus to a bunch of other kids in the school, you know, that's not fixing the problem. It's possible the kids that have the masks aren't going to get the virus, but they probably will. It's trying to reduce the capacity for the virus to spread, and they're just not concerned with it. And it's the same sort of stupid shit that, people that still support Trump, people that are Russian that don't have any concern for the Ukrainians. And they don't understand the reason why Putin hates the Ukrainians, and that is they ousted a puppet president that Putin had in power in Ukraine, and they were able to get their they were able to get a president they liked, and they were able to do well by that. And Putin's jealous of that. That's the reason why Putin's bombing the shit out of them, is that he hates being made to look bad. He's People don't understand this, but what Putin is a psychopath. He never makes any kind of he doesn't make any smiles. The guy doesn't. If he smiles, it's got to be fake. But I mean, the guy is maybe he's not psychopath. Maybe he's just fucking paranoid. But he hates. He's got such a big ego that anybody. I mean, there was an example of this. There was something like the Spitting Image, this show that was really popular in the 80s. They made a spitting image show in Russia, and they presented Putin with this really clownish puppet, kind of making fun of Putin. Putin got really upset about this. Took the guy that owned the took the person who owned the network and put him in prison, and forced him to hand over the rights of that network to Putin, so Putin could control the communications and control what gets put on TV or on that network, on that channel, possibly all the channels. And so Putin wants to maintain control. He doesn't want anybody to make him look bad. He's really afraid he's afraid to be ousted as a president. He doesn't even consider himself a president. He considers himself a dictator. He acts as a dictator. He may be a president, but nobody can vote somebody else in. And because he's done this, it's made him much more paranoid, because now people really want to kill him. People really want to do him in, and he's only concerned for himself. He doesn't give a shit about anybody else. It's just like Hitler. Hitler was this way. He didn't care for the people at all. At the very last of the war, whenever he didn't have any more troops left, he took civilians and threw them at the war. And I'm sure that's what Putin will do. If he runs low on army, he's going to start taking the citizens and giving them guns and going out and fighting the war. He's going to draft. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. And he just doesn't like to be made fun of. And people are going to make fun of him, and it's, it's really stupid. And what's really stupid is Trump called him a genius. You know, I think we should take Trump and deport him, send him to Russia, and see what Putin will do with him.